check. So this is going to be a video on essentially all the fixed blade EDC knives that I carry. I've been noticing within the community, fixed blade EDC is all the rage. I figured it'd eventually loop around. Throughout the years, I don't think I've ever carried a flipper, even though they're really nice. Some of them are incredibly well made, of good quality. They're flashy, they look good, and they're fun. So I'll just get these out of the way. These are my my folders. I believe this is like a Buck Omni Hunter. This was actually a gift from my father. Never, like practically never used. All of my fixed blades are heavily, not all of them, but most of them are heavily used because they're actually in, this one doesn't have a pocket clip. Very nicely weighted. Superb knife as far as flippers go, in my opinion. But I just don't carry it. A friend of mine got this from Italy for me. Very nice gentleman's pocket knife. I've worn this a few times to like weddings and dinners and outings. It's very subtle. Not tactical. And I know a lot of people use folders, like especially in other countries or in regions of my country where, oh, the water's boiling. I'm making coffee over here. People use folders because of the law. Let that steep for a little while. That is going to be delicious. All right. Yeah, from what I understand, that's why most people don't even consider fixed blades. This is a really, really old knife. This is actually my father's. It's a Buck 9T223, Portland, Oregon, USA. Very well made. Brass, heavy in the hand. With spine, back lock. The tip actually broke off, and I had to, I think that's my doing. The tip broke off. I had to cut a swedge, so it's actually not the typical blade profile. I believe it came up. Anyway, nostalgic, very nice knife. No pocket clip. Not really usable for, not carryable. Not ideal to carry. But yeah, if you live in an area where I can only use a folder or a small knife. So my hand, from here to here, is 3 inches. So typically, every blade that I have bought, as far as fixed blades go, I try to keep them only this long, and you'll notice that. So, years ago, my first study. This was my first ever fixed blade carry. This is, I believe this is a cold steel bird and trout. It's big enough to do what you need to do. Blade retention. You'll notice a running theme on all my knives. They'll all have a loop for retention because typically the only thing that I do with a knife is detail work. You know, what's going to happen is like, oh, I need a knife. And you'll end up having to do something else with your hand in the meantime. And to have the ring there, you could make a certain amount of lashing, bring it back up, use the knife, and you still always have it in your hand. But after using this for years, obviously you can see that it's just an exposed tang. If you're doing anything that requires like leather or wood, that requires a lot of pressure, it not that it matters, you know, you build up callus eventually, but it's just, it's an excellent knife, excellent retention. The sheath, you can see, there's a nub there, so it's carryable, weighs nothing. So this was one that I carried for years and didn't really feel necessary to upgrade until I started realizing I wanted something a little bit more substantial in the hand, so I didn't keep having like these hot spots. So then the other two I ordered were off Amazon. This, out of all my knives, truth be told, the ergonomics on this one are my favorite. It's like the perfect size for my hand. It just melds in there. But unfortunately, the steel is horrible. I mean, you know, it'll work, but it's just not, it's like this. I didn't feel I needed to upgrade this except for one reason, and I didn't really feel I needed to upgrade this except for that it just always kept going dull, which, you know, it's not too hard. But yeah, then this started happening just from taking it in and out of the sheath, so the coating is not ideal. These are all things that I could fix myself. The sheath, I had to replace. It had these plastic rivets. I had to replace them with metal ones. But the retention on this thing is probably the best, because there's a, in order to release this, you have to press down and then pull the knife out. So I prefer this type of retention over anything else, because it's not, there's almost no way of it coming out. But yes, it's cutting it pretty close, you know, but it's good. This grip, it's just overall, as far as all the other knives go, probably the best ergonomic feeling. And if I could, I would either make a blank for it and make it out of higher grade steel and upgrade the sheath into a better material. But yeah, this one right here is a template, as like a prototype. This thing is probably the best. And the loop, I prefer the loop to be on the pointer finger over the karambit style. Either one works, but this is actually from the research I did. It's actually designed by a French knife designer. I believe it was Fred Perrin. When I bought my Spyderco, there was a brief history on it, and I was happy to understand. But yeah, he was actually a worker on scaffolding. So, not, you know, there's obviously a lot of uses for it, but you know, if you lose your knife on scaffolding, if you're up a few stories, and you have to cut rope or do whatever you need to do, dropping this down could be a danger to people underneath you. And I mean, it's a hell of a thing to keep going back down a few stories for. All right, so the hot spots, the steel, definitely an upgrade. And this was another one that I ordered off Amazon, but I also had to upgrade. It had a exposed tang, but I had to fashion my own scales to it. It's just epoxy. You know, it doesn't look good, but it works. I was worried the length, because of where I was living at the time. The length was just, so it was about the same length as this one as far as the blade shape goes. It had good retention. This one doesn't use the finger notch, which I really like, because you could just, instead of having to push and then put a purchase on the knife, it's actually released by this lever here. So you'll already have your hand in the knife when you go to draw it. This one's called like the Defender, if I didn't mention that. And this one, I believe, was called the Scorpion. And I'm pretty sure you could still find them on Amazon. They're relatively cheap, but the steel on this holds an edge way longer. So that was definitely an upgrade. So these were my very first three. fixed blade EDCs. But yeah, like I said, otherwise, if I didn't put these on there, it would have just been an exposed tang, and I would have had the same issue with hot spots. But yeah, it was very easy to put those on there, and I really like the method of retention on this one also. So these are my Amazon purchases. Those are my first 3 that I kind of cycled. The one that I currently use now, the most and the longest out of anything that I've carried, and I mean, for the money, this thing is fantastic. It has the same concept of retention as that one. This is a cold steel. I actually got both versions because I didn't know which one I would like more. But this one is just way too tactical for anything that I'm doing. I do, however, like the hawk bill or the hook, you know, very much like a karambit. This thing works excellent. If you need to get under, like, let's say a zip tie, you know, if you just put the little bill under there and then use this as a lever, it comes way easier than having to use any other kind of knife and like get a glance and actually take a chunk out of your steel there. But this thing's just way too tactical. If I pull this out outside of a, you know, a Walmart or you know, a KFC, yeah, people are it's gonna raise some eyebrows, and I don't really like that. But it's good to have anyway. You know, there's no sense in returning it or giving it away. It's still a very functional piece of kit. I just haven't found quite a use for it, and you can also tell that it's not very heavily used. This one definitely not so much. But again, edge retention, pretty good for 20 or 30 bucks. Superb, actually. It's nothing to it. No bacteria is gonna, these scales are like impervious to the elements. Overall, thin, stupendous carry knives. These cold steel double agents, double agent 1 and double agent 2. So this one I actually modified because, like I said, as much as I don't need 2 rings. Again, this is, you know, if you gotta like this, some karambits have, you know, that for like whatever. It's not what I bought it for, but I actually ended up cutting the back ring off of this one. This one has a much more, you know, less scary, more, it kind of looks like a Bowie. I like it. And yes, this is the one I use every single day. I carry it with me everywhere. Lengthwise, it's still pretty close, but I don't live in an area where I feel I'd have too much of an issue, which was one of the reasons I bought the Scorpion over the Defender. But yeah, the cold steel double agents are probably my favorite for the price, for the impervious nature of them. You know, you don't have to worry. Like these scales, as you can see, they're like, I guess, molded inside the open tang. But, you know, like stuff can get in there. You're not going to have the problem with this one. And I only need 1 hole. Retention is fantastic. Like I said before, it's not as good as the Scorpion, but you just have to push this hole. You just have to push this button, and then you can get your finger through the hole and do what you gotta do with the knife. You can tie, type, sift through instructions. You know, it's a very, very functional aspect of a knife. So this one not so much. That one right there, I knew that was a winner. So I've been using that one the most out of every one of these knives. Now, I have this one reserved specifically for outings because it's probably the nicest knife I've ever owned as far as quality. And yeah, I guess a lot of people would agree, but this is a Spyderco Swick. I mean, this thing is just beautiful. The steel is amazing. There's just no, I don't even know how to explain it without you actually putting one in your hands. But you know, just the ever so slight contour in comparison. This one just fits more like the Scorpion and the Defender, like the ergonomics. This is a very, very nice piece. So yeah, if you got 100 to 150 bucks, I don't know how much they're going for now, and you want a utilizable blade that is fixed blade and has good retention. The only downfall again is the sheath. Like, I would be worried just because it's just friction in there. I would thought about it. I haven't really figured out how to do it yet, but I eventually will. Just making a tab, just like they have on the other sheaths, that I would have to push down in order to release this knife from its sheath. But other than that, as far as like the actual quality of the blade steel, this it's gonna be, hold on 1 second. The texture on this is just way more, it's kind of like sandpaper. But man, does that thing really just mold right into your hand, especially with these little ribs here. Yeah, Spyderco makes good stuff. It's the first Spyderco I've ever used or held, so I was kind of happy for that. But this is like my my out knife. If I'm wearing a nice belt and some dress shoes, this is the one I take. This is work boots, white t-shirt, flannel, blue jeans, stuff that I would wear every day. So these two right here are my daily. I don't think I'm gonna ever have to upgrade any further from those. Truly enjoy them. Again, same concept throughout the whole collection here over the years. So these are the ones that I just kind of thought were really, really cool. And when I saw them, I was just kind of like the same idea as these. These fall under the category of this one. It's like, I saw it and I was like, you know what? I might as well just try it and see if I could find any functional use for it. So in the same category as these ones here. Oops. Pour my coffee real quick. Fantastic. All right. So totally tactical blades. This one is a Boker MA1. The steel's not that great. It is stainless, 440C, but it's like a brass knuckle and a small knife in one. Oh, I guess I should show you the size comparison here. I would feel way more comfortable driving across state lines with this thing, even though it is expensive, than I would with this one. Because I mean, even though it is pretty big difference if you're looking at it from somebody who's upholding the law, I guess. But either way, you shouldn't have a problem with that stuff. I just never know when something can come up where I have to, cross a state line or go into a city. I have to follow different statutes, different ordinances. So anyway, like I said, yeah, these two, 100% my go-to dailies, depending on what I'm doing. And if that helps you in any way, or if you're familiar with anything that's better. I am really not interested in upgrading. These provide pretty much everything that I need, or I have needed over the few years. But, who doesn't like knives? They are very useful, and they will never not be useful. But anyway, back to the Boker. This one is useful, obviously, but probably not so much. One thing that really got me with this one is the retention. You can mount this thing anyway. It's probably, I'd say, definitely best for like somebody who's combat. Just kind of holds you like a wedding band, a little tight around the knuckles. This is actually a version of a knife that Boker templated after a Miltner and Adams. I don't even know if that company still exists anymore, but it was a really cool concept. Chisel, grind, like one side's flat and the other side is, yeah, so chisel ground. It's just, I just like the concept of it. You could do anything, fist bump, shake a hand, you know, type on a computer. Whatever you needed to do. My forefinger, my pointer finger's a little too big for these holes. So the best way for me really is just back these holes down here a little bit wider. My pinky's the only one that can fit in there comfortably. So it's probably better for somebody's smaller hands, if you can even find one anymore. But it is really just like a novelty item. The retention is amazing though. Got like this little lever here. Again, you could put your whole thing in the, your whole hand in the knife before it's even released. And then you could use it. Very small blade. The look of it is definitely tactical, so that's what I'm saying. I would definitely put it in the category of like, if you pull that thing out, somebody's gonna be like, whoa. All these have finger rings. There's gotta be a karambit in here at some point, right? It's not the most devastating one. I think you can buy this one off Amazon as well. I don't even, this is like some no name. I believe it was like Canmu or something like that was the name of the company, or the, yeah, the retention, just like the Spyderco friction. I'm not really a fan of that. But yeah, you gotta have at least one karambit. Really, really small, excellent blade retention. Again, these ones I don't ever use. They're really just part of a collection. I would have no problem getting rid of them if I had to. Overall, comfortable, nice thickness on the scales, very well rounded, and yeah, there's no way that you can have all these knives with finger holes and not have a karambit, right? So that's another one. If I pulled it out in public, somebody would probably be like, whoa. This is the knife. When I was thinking about upgrading this, because of the region that I lived in, like I said, this one was a little bit too big for my liking, as far as like if, for whatever reason, I pulled it out. There's actually an upgrade to the Bird and Trout, excuse me. It's called the Bird and Game. Excellent retention. The sheath is way less quality. Like I could just tell by the thickness of the plastic or whatever that this is made out of. It's this batch was a little bit less than ideal. Karambit style. So you're already in there, and then you just push down on this tab. But it's about the same length as the Defender. So this is the Bird and Game. It's just the upgraded version, which kind of alleviates the hot spots. But the length of the blade was what I was concerned about. Now I don't have to worry about that. Obviously, I got these two. And the last one, this is probably like my most pinkies up knife that I have in this whole collection. And I believe this is called the Boker Accomplice. This thing is just heavy duty. Nice ripple pattern. I would probably say really good steel. I don't know, I haven't used it much. But, oh, very nice. Very nicely made boker. This is a nice piece. Got this little ramp here. Nice swells in the scales there. But it's just too big. It's thick in comparison to these guys. So like where I carry my knife, it's just not really ideal. I have tried carrying it, even with the belt. And like I said, I'm not really a fan of the friction style. I mean, I know you could probably heat that up. And again, like I said, what I would probably end up doing if it was something that I absolutely had to carry, I would modify with the same concept as these sheaths, with a tab of some sort that would stop this thing from coming out, that I would have to push out of the way to make this safer. Because if I'm riding a bike or a motorcycle, or I have to move out of the way of something, a falling object, or get under a truck, or whatever I'm doing in a day, you never know, you know? Hiking, jogging, running. Yeah, this is not something I'm gonna feel 100% comfortable with, but these, well, this one I should say for sure, it's got everything nailed down. So yeah, that is my knife collection. I've got a few more things over here, but nothing pertaining to like fixed blade, EDC, solely and wholeheartedly. I have no idea why I decided to share that, but oh yeah, because I keep seeing fixed blade EDC come up on my feeds. So yeah, that's my 2 cents. These are the knives, obviously, I've all purchased and used them all, except for like the super duper tactical ones. I'll put this in that category. And out of all the ones that are on the market, I know that there's a few more. I know SE makes a pretty cool one. Like the really expensive, like Fox knives. Civivi make some really nice fixed blade EDCs. They're expensive with the retention hole. So yeah, if you're looking for a knife like that that's carryable, different size lengths of blade, if that's what you're concerned about, less practical, but still really cool to have in the collection. And these probably right here, out of all the years that I've been carrying fixed blade, these ones right here pretty much hit they check every box for me. Like I said, the only thing I would do is just upgrade the sheath on this bad boy. Yeah, that's all I gotta say for myself today. Just be safe and be a blessing to others, I guess, right? Adios.